Hi there. My name is Confessor, and I am a 5-player multiboxer in Classic WoW. Started doing multibox because it seemed like a fun new challenge, and I kind of find it hard to find groups for alts with all the boost meta that was going on. And I had a bunch of accounts for my kids, so I was like, yeah, might as well give it a shot, see if it'd be any fun. Since I started doing that, I've primarily been using multiboxing to farm mats in private dungeon runs. So I don't really do any PvP. And usually whenever I do, I get wrecked. I have terrible spatial awareness when it comes to playing more than one character. But I wanted to share kind of my setup, what it looks like, what hardware and software I use, the add-ons, etc., with people who multi-box and people who don't, and just kind of show it's pretty easy. So with that in mind, I wanted to start kind of with what my existing setup looks like today. So I play on an ultra-wide monitor, 120 hertz, 3440 by 1440. My PC isn't crazy. It's an 8700K, has an RTX 2080. It's a beefier card, but even last gen. 16 gigs of RAM, so nothing crazy. I don't do any hardware multiboxing. I didn't feel like the additional expense was worth it, and I've been able to multibox on one computer with multiple clients very successfully using software. Using very specific software, I should recommend. And instead I invested in a much better keyboard and mouse. So I use a Logitech G915 as the keyboard. It's a wireless mechanical keyboard. A lot of really cool macro abilities with the keys, and just feels really nice. And then I use a G604. This is a Logitech G604 MMO gaming mouse. It's not as crazy as like the Naga Hex or Naga mouses, or Logitech actually has a dedicated MMO mouse. I think it's probably more of like a MOBA mouse. But it has 6 keys on the side that are configurable, macroable, 2 keys on top that are the same, and then it has a scroll wheel, and then it's configurable for infinite scrolling. And the infinite scrolling is really important to how I multibox. It's made a significant difference in how I multibox. So so let me kind of show you what software I'm using. So when I used to use isBoxer before they banned isBoxer, and that was great. I mean, input broadcasting made multiboxing really, really easy. So when it ended, a lot of people were kind of like, well, what do we do now? So the team for isBoxer started making JMB, Joe Multiboxer, and I tried that one, but I didn't like it. I didn't like the layout. I couldn't do any configuration. So I started using an application called Shift Window, which basically allowed me to define where the clients would be on my screen. It wasn't specific to WoW. You could do it for any application. In fact, both that and X-Mouse controls was also not specific to WoW. And all X-Mouse controls does is it forces focus for your mouse. And Windows has some of that built in natively. I just liked the app because it was lightweight. And basically what it allows you to do is wherever you mouse over, that becomes the new focus. So my mouse is literally controlling this character right now, and that's because it's focusing on that window. So with those two combinations, I could multi-box very successfully. Combine that with some really intricate macros, and it worked. It worked really well. Then I found an application called WoW OpenBox, and this was like the combination of everything I wanted from a multi-boxing perspective. It was perfect. It has a round robin option for players who are into that. For me, it had built in the mouse functionality that I was looking for. It allowed me to do configurable window layouts for my monitor. It allowed me to do always on top, which was incredible because I like to have my main character full screen. It's very, very customizable. The developer for it is fantastic. It's open source. It's just a winner in my opinion. Very happy with it. And then it's not input broadcasting software, so you still have to actually press the keys in each window in order to launch an attack or a spell ability. But it's pretty easy. And with the mouse wheel, I'll show you a bit later, it's even easier. So my current configuration, the way I have the game set up, is I have a main character, my prot paladin, and then I have a healer, priest. WoW OpenBox allowed me to define very custom um, client windows, so they weren't beholden to like a 16:9 ratio. I could do whatever I wanted, and that allowed me to really focus my healer just on the party, and then just leverage macros for moving him and stuff. And then have smaller windows here for the other players. Yeah, and then I use that in combination with some macros and some add-ons to be able to multi-box. In terms of the group I'm using, so I have a paladin, 3 warlocks, and a priest. Although I do have a mage I sometimes sub in if I need like decurse abilities. It's really helpful for Scholomance, for example, or for Stratholme as well. But for the most part, this combination is fantastic. The locks have fantastic mana downtime because of life tap. The priest is a mana recovering god. It's great with divine spirit. The paladin is an AoE threat machine. It works really well. Once Burning Crusade launches, it's just going to be even a better comp. Although I might switch to a shaman when Burning Crusade launches for my healer, just because I understand that they're better healers. So yeah, so in terms of like the specs I'm running, because they are a little bit different, I don't run like traditional cookie cutters. My warlock talents are SM Ruin, which is a little bit of a cookie cutter, but one of them runs improved imp and improved imp firebolt. I run my pets out all the time, so I don't run DS Ruin, which is a more higher damage spell or higher damage talent build. And then I just keep one of them who doesn't do as much damage to others anyways. He's just gonna, he's kind of the imp dude. The paladin runs a kind of a traditional holy prot build, because I still do raid healing. So as long as I got illumination, I'm golden there, and then go down deep for holy shield, which helps me control and hold threat. And then lastly, the priest. The priest has the weirdest build out of all of them. So I wanted Divine Spirit, Holy Nova, and Shadow Weaving, since I'm a really heavy shadow build. I miss out on some of the healing abilities, but honestly, like I can still heal dungeons just fine, and that's primarily what I'm using this for. And the damage output on rank 1 Shadow Word Pain is just really strong. So, and then obviously Blackout Proxy are even better on mobs, so I really like it. In terms of add-ons, I use a lot of add-ons. That's just what I really like. There are some add-ons I would consider critical for this though. So LUI, being able to customize your UI is really important, particularly for the smaller windows, because I don't need to know everything that's over here except for a few things, like what spells am I casting, very minor details here. So being able to customize that's very helpful. Weak Aura, oh my god, Weak Aura is like a godsend for multiboxing. You can do audible cues for Weak Auras. I actually went to a text-to-speech editor online and made a bunch of like, consecration is ending, your dots are ending, you're low on mana, and it all plays through my headset. So this warlock has a magic dot on them. So just, yeah, it helps me kind of know where to put my attention. The couple other ones, so Grid is really nice for the DPS because it's a very mobile unit frame for party. I don't like it for the healer because if you try to make it large like this, then your raid frames are giant too, and if I'm not always multiboxing, it's kind of annoying. There's a follow me add-on, which is really great. You literally just you type FME in chat, and then anyone else who has the add-on, even people not in your party, will just follow that player. Macro toolkit is, if you're into building macros, this add-on is huge. It'll find errors in your macro as you're building them. So really cool. Strongly recommend it. It kind of breaks down the code that you're working on. To that same effect, Gnome Sequence Enhancer is really good for doing really complex macros, doing like sequential macros, like actual, not like a cast sequence macro, but a sequential multiple macros. I've only really started just playing with it though. I'm sure I have a lot more to learn on it. Let's see. DBM is obviously helpful. Threat plates, being able to see the enemy nameplates above their head to see what spells they have on their head, whether or not I have aggro on them. Very, very important. Dialogue key. Anytime you interface with anything in the game, you're given like 1 through 5 options for selection. Spacebar automatically, closes the window or does the dialogue. And then obviously Pally Power is really important too. Oh, and then EMA. EMA is the best multiboxing add-on in WoW. It does a lot. It can have your flight paths all selected. It does a lot of automation. For trade, you can trade items on a regular basis. This is a very complex add-on that covers a lot of what multiboxers need. Highly recommend it. In terms of weak auras, I use quite a few weak auras. I use weak auras for cooldowns, spell duration, even like names of the characters. So it's very easy for me to see which window is which character. The audible alerts, like I mentioned, dots, procs, everything as a weak aura. Really, really, really friendly. And then what made multiboxing really easy for me and the way I do it is doing cast sequence macros. So cast sequence macros allow you to basically cast, a curse, corruption, and then shadow bolt. And I tied it to my mouse wheel so that it's really easy for me to walk into a fight, throw down a consecrate, and then cast all my abilities on this guy. Right? Look at that, like I'm just like killing him. Getting consecrations down, holy shields up. Do some fire novas. So that's kind of how you're able to get all of your dots, all of your spells casting almost instantaneously by cast sequence macros, and you combine that with key bindings, and it's ridiculous. It's so easy. So I separate my key bindings into multi-box key bindings, so follow macros, mount, hearthstone, interact with target. Those are all like separate keys. And then the spell bindings, I memorize all my abilities, so I know like what each keybind is for each window, so I can hide the action bars. Frees up a lot of screen real estate. Allows me to do things like have my priest cast rank 1 Shadow Word Pain, for example. But then spin to win, baby. It's super easy. I put the infinite scroll on here, and that goes to those cast sequence macros, and it's trying to press consecrate and holy shield every time I spin my mouse wheel. And because it's infinite going, it just keeps going and going and going. And whenever I move my mouse, it changes the focus of the window that I'm in. So it's going to cast that macro through the mouse wheel on every single one. So really strong. Still a lot of micromanagement ability. I can come in here and, move this character around or cast spells individually if I need to. But, for walking into a boss fight or into an AoE pack, it's really that simple. I find it really easy to do, and that's it. That's all you really got to do is you can check out round robin. I've been talking to some folks about how they do that, and there's some cool stuff you can do there. But I really like having control over where my mouse is, and I use this little weak aura around my mouse. I always can see where it is, and I use color coding. So priest is white, paladin is pink, warlocks are purple, light blue, and red. So I know where my mouse is at all times, and I can tell. Much easier for me to tell, like, okay, I need to judge, or eventually one day I need to taunt, or and then I use click is really helpful for the priest, so I can just click on these unit frames to heal them. I also use mouse over macros, so like R is my renew. Very easy to throw those up there. So yeah, it works great. If you have any questions on how I set this up, or particularly like WoW Openbox, there's a great Discord for it. Happy to answer any questions. But thanks for watching, and keep going, keep doing it.